Tonight on Reporting Scotland. It began in Scotland nearly 170 years ago. Now Frasers is being sold off to Sports Direct for £90 million.
Pretty shocked. Hard to believe that could be happen to such a famous name in Glasgow.
Also coming up in the programme, more money to combat court delays after an increase in reported sexual offences. A number of Aberdeen's fire engines have been stood down in the last week because of crew shortages. Laura Muir guarantees her spot in the 1500-metre final at the European Championships in Berlin. And the 40th anniversary of the Special Olympics is celebrated in Stirling. Good evening. Mike Ashley's Sports Direct has stepped in to buy House of Fraser for £90 million. That was after the struggling department store group announced it was going into administration. The business began in Glasgow in 1849 and still operates 4 stores in Scotland, including Jenner's in Edinburgh and the original shop in Glasgow's Buchanan Street. Katie Hunter has more.
It was obvious all was not well at House of Fraser this morning. The company's Glasgow store, along with others, delayed opening after announcing it was going into administration. Staff weren't sure what the day would bring.
I don't think I have an understanding of it yet. It was not really been explained to us at all. There is a meeting, so we'll be at that meeting, and as of yet I don't really know much about the situation.
I think we're just all trying to keep each other up. We're all trying to stay motivated and hope for a good outcome.
There was a warm welcome for customers when Frasers eventually opened at 11. It followed news that Sports Direct owner Mike Ashley had bought the chain for £90 million. The businessman says he wants to turn Frasers into the Harrods of the High Street and will try to keep as many stores open as possible. It's unclear what that means for its 4 Scottish stores, including Jenner's in Edinburgh. One of the 2 House of Fraser shops in the capital is already due to close next month. And there are questions about what impact today's news will have on staff.
The terms and conditions that they are on just now, are they going to remain? That is a major concern. If they are going to change, are they going to change for the better or are they going to change for the worse?
Glasgow has a special place in House of Fraser's history. The company started trading as a small drapery shop here back in 1849. But shopping habits aren't what they used to be, and Frasers has struggled to compete with big brands that don't have the financial burden of big buildings.
The most important issue has been the development of internet retailing and really the strength of retailers such as Amazon and others who are selling products that are not dissimilar to what House of Fraser and other department stores are selling.
But some shoppers still prefer a trip into town than a browse online.
Well, we're in our 70s and we've been here since we've been born, you know what I mean? So it's just come here for my makeup, everything, you know.
I've never actually been in there before, but I'm looking forward to it. I noticed they do everything.
Pretty shocked. Hard to believe that could be happen to such a famous name in Glasgow.
But Frasers will need more than its famous name to turn its fortunes around. Katie Hunter, Reporting Scotland.
I'm joined by our business and economy editor, Douglas Fraser, no relation, who's outside the Buchanan Street store. So a measure of relief, at least for staff tonight, Douglas.
Yes, these are worrying times, but they should be relieved at least that they're still in jobs today. This is an odd, controversial way of dealing with companies in distress where you collapse them, you walk away from the debt, and somebody, sometimes it's the same person, comes back in to run the same assets again. It's justified because it keeps thousands of people in jobs. What's going to worry staff certainly today, when Mike Ashley was talking, as you heard in that statement, that he wants to keep as many stores open as possible. He is, we know, thinking about closing some more stores than are already slated for closure, including that one on Princes Street in Edinburgh. And also, their worries must be about his reputation as a boss. He's clearly very tough. He's confrontational, he likes a business fight, he's unlikely to be too sentimental about historic and much-loved shopping brands.
What are the challenges of turning House of Fraser around?
Well, in his statement today, Mike Ashley said that it's vital to restore the right level of relationship with luxury brands. Now, that clearly shows that he's up for keeping these stores up market rather than keeping in the same business he's been in with Sports Direct for many years. He needs to find a new business model that works online, that can tackle his rivals online, and also manages to sustain these very large, expensive stores and to keep people coming into them, not just by being price competitive, but also with customer experience, with the sort of theatre that you get from these stores that keep particularly high-end customers coming back. To get investment at that kind of level to compete will mean quite a substantial shopping list for Mike Ashley.
Douglas Fraser, thank you very much. Scotland's prosecutors and the court service are to get more than £1 million in additional funding to help deal with sexual offences. The Scottish Government hopes the money will reduce the time it takes for cases to come to trial. Our Home Affairs correspondent, Rival Alderson, has been hearing from one victim who's waited months for her case to come to court.
The impact on our lives has been horrendous. It's affected every aspect of my life, my emotional, my physical, my social life.
We're calling this woman Poppy. 17 months ago she was sexually assaulted, and although she reported the offence within 4 days, the accused has only just recently appeared in court for the first time.
You just get treated like any other crime. It's not specifically maybe a high valued crime, or the fact that they maybe don't see it as serious. It feels us in limbo because you don't know what's happening. There's people making decisions about my life and my family's life, but they're actually not telling us what's actually happening.
Pressure's mounting on prosecutors as the number of sex crimes reported to them continues to rise. At the start of the decade, there were just under 6,700. That's risen to almost 11,000 in the most recent figures, partly because victims have greater confidence that they'll be taken seriously. And historical allegations mean 75% of all cases going to the High Court are sexual crimes. Rape charities have welcomed the money the government's announced.
I think the absolute priority is to bring down waiting times. So people are waiting for such a long time for cases to get to court, like often 2 years or longer. I think the priority for this money is to bring the timescales down, try and make sure that people are given evidence much closer to the incident, because not only does that reduce their distress and uncertainty, I think you get much better evidence.
Seeing a case in court is only part of the ordeal for victims of intimate crimes. The government says the new cash it's announced will help support them.
It's one, of course, to hopefully progress cases through the court system, because we have more and more reports and a higher number of reports of sexual offences. But secondly, the money will also be used to provide support and information to victims as the case progresses through the court system. And that's come from direct feedback from the victims themselves.
Poppy says she hopes the new cash will help improve prosecutors' understanding of the effect of sexual crimes and promote better communication with victims. Rival Alderson reporting, Scotland.
A fatal accident inquiry into the Clutha helicopter crash in Glasgow is to be held next year. 10 people died and 31 others were hurt when a police helicopter crashed into the roof of the Glasgow pub in November 2013. The inquiry will begin next April, with the first preliminary hearing the following October. A number of Aberdeen's 6 full-time fire appliances have been stood down in the last week because of crew shortages. It comes months after bosses apologised for a loss of confidence in the service following similar issues. Our reporter Rachel Bell joins us now. Rachel.
Yes, well, the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service has confirmed that one fire appliance was unavailable from its central fire station here in Aberdeen on Tuesday. 2 further appliances were unavailable here at Alton's fire station in the south of the city on Wednesday. And the fire service says this is down to a combination of things. They say it's down to planned annual leave, but also short-term sickness. Now, this isn't the first time this has happened in Aberdeen. In April, fire bosses apologised after a number of incidents led to appliances being taken off the run in the city. And at that point, the Fire Brigade Union raised concerns, saying lives are being put at risk because of the shortages. Now, responding to these latest incidents, the fire service insists safety is not being compromised.
Risk because one appliance is unavailable any more than those lives would be at risk because that appliance was at a different incident. What we do have in Aberdeen and in the Aberdeenshire area is a robust system of stations and appliances that are available. We're able to flex those appliances to respond to whatever the emergency that occurs.
Well, the service says that it's actively working to deal with the crewing challenges in the city. We know that firefighters in Aberdeen have previously been reluctant to take overtime because they've claimed that management have been continually shifting the goalposts when it comes to their shifts. Now, earlier today, I spoke to a representative from the FBU, and he told me he's disappointed that there still isn't enough firefighters to cover the available appliances at all times here in Aberdeen.
Rachel, thank you very much indeed. A teenager has been arrested in connection with a large-scale disturbance at a park in East Renfrewshire. 3 16-year-old boys were taken to hospital after the incident in Overley Park on Tuesday evening. They've since been released. More than 100 pupils had gathered to celebrate their exam results when the incident happened. An 18-year-old man has been arrested, but a court date hasn't been set. A former Scottish Labour leader has launched a scathing attack on Jeremy Corbyn and his team for not doing enough to combat anti-Semitism in the party. Jim Murphy, who stepped down after the 2015 election, paid for an article in the Jewish Telegraph. Our political correspondent, Andrew Kerr, joins me now. What's Mr Murphy been saying, Andrew?
Well, Sally, here is today's edition of the Jewish Telegraph, and it is indeed a scathing attack on Jeremy Corbyn and Labour's top team from the former Scottish Labour leader. He says my party appears to have deliberately turned its back on British Jewry, of course, at the time that the Labour Party is engulfed in a row about anti-Semitism. I've been asking Mr Murphy why he wanted to step in and speak about the Jewish community at the moment. I caught up with him in his former constituency.
It shouldn't be left to them to stand up against the racism that they face. We all have that responsibility. Unfortunately, at the moment, the Labour Party isn't doing enough to challenge that small number of anti-Semites who are within our party and kicking them out immediately. Labour has to take action. The time for talking is over.
Now, in response, Scottish Labour said this was not for them. I contacted UK Labour and they said they didn't want to comment. But one Scottish source in the Labour Party up here did say that they wouldn't be taking leadership lessons from Mr Murphy, of course, given that disastrous general election result back in 2015. I think the row over anti-Semitism partly stems from Labour not adopting all these working examples of anti-Semitism attached to a definition of anti-Semitism that's been recognised by a well-known international organisation. But let's not forget, as Labour is engulfed by this row of anti-Semitism, the Conservative Party are embroiled over a row about the dress code for Muslim women following those comments from the former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson. It certainly is a febrile, hothouse atmosphere in British politics at the moment. Sally.
Andrew Kerr, thank you very much. An investigation has found 2 bridge workers were almost hit by a train travelling at more than 70 miles an hour as it approached Dundee Station. The Rail Accident Investigation Branch said the pair were forced to move clear of the train, which struck a portable generator on the line last July. The RAIB said safety advice would be issued in the next few weeks. Ryanair says 15% of its schedule today has been affected by strike action. Pilots in 5 European countries are striking over pay and conditions, forcing the cancellation of almost 400 flights. Ryanair says it's made every effort to resolve the dispute. You're watching BBC Reporting Scotland. It's 6:42. Reminder of tonight's top story. House of Fraser, which began in Scotland nearly 170 years ago, is being sold off to Sports Direct for £90 million. And still to come, one footballer tells us about the struggle that hundreds of professional players face trying to find a club. They began life as a feminist band, but Pussy Riot have since become one of the most recognisable protest groups in the world. From punk protests in a church to storming the pitch at the World Cup, members of the Russian collective have been arrested countless times. Today they arrived in Edinburgh for a series of performances at the Fringe. But even that was a challenge, as our arts correspondent Pauline McLean reports.
This is how Pussy Riot first began, with a punk protest in a Moscow church. 7 years later, they're instantly recognisable as they storm the pitch at the World Cup. This show at the Edinburgh Fringe is based on the memoir of founding member Maria. A travel ban due to her most recent arrest made it difficult to get here. But she and the rest of the collective were determined to tell their global story on a Scottish stage.
Step by step I started to collect letters from people like Peter Gabriel, Paul McCartney, and finally I brought these letters to courts and to prisons. That's how I met them. So we are happy that we created the collective which can deliver such a powerful story, and I think that Edinburgh public will enjoy it.
It's not just celebrities who've been inspired, artists too, among them Yoko Ono, who've contributed to this exhibition at the Fringe, which coincides with their visit.
We thought that everybody just don't care, but it's not true. And that's great, and we see all of these beautiful walls and words and pictures, and that's so great that people trying to, to express themselves.
But it's come at a price. Frequent jail sentences, no easy proposition for members, many of whom are mothers with young children.
What we're doing for our children as well, because they will grow up and ask us about how we were living. And for example, my son, I hope he will remember this, and that's how actually country is building, by people and their experience.
And that, they say, is their aim, to speak out and encourage others to do the same. Pauline McLean, reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
Hundreds of Scottish football players are still without a club, despite the season being well underway. That's according to the Players' Union, PFA Scotland. It's said to be a situation that can lead to mental health problems. Alistair Lamont has more.
On training grounds all around the country, players are preparing for the challenges of the weekend.
Guys, in the crowd, get space at a band, please.
The daily rigours and routines of football dominate their working lives for years on end. But for an unlucky minority, when most return to training and then competitive action, there's a threat this will all come to an end.
There are no official statistics for the amount of Scottish players out of work, but the Players' Union puts the figure in the hundreds. That ranges from young players trying to still make their way in the game to veterans simply trying to prolong their career.
One of those is Gary Irvine, formerly of St Johnstone, Dundee and St Mirren, now at 33, on the lookout for a new club.
When you start seeing the teams going back and getting into the competitive games now, frustration's the main word that comes to mind. But like I say, I'll keep myself fit and I'll keep putting my name about and seeing what's there for me.
Gary's method of dealing with that frustration is focusing on fitness, but he's aware of potentially darker implications.
You hear of players struggling as well, like they've grew up in a kind of dressing room environment and they've had a team kind of mentality their full life, and then they feel themselves kind of isolated and missing out on that. So it's tough, like you say, you don't know what direction you're going in, if a team's going to come in, if you're going to get the next wage packet, and it's challenging mentally.
The issue of mental health is increasingly to the fore in football. Support is at hand for those in need.
They can call, they can text. It's very difficult to pick up a phone and speak to someone, so they can send a text. That then gets them through to a doctor. The doctor will assess them, and then they will get confidential and free treatment going forward for whatever it is that they need. But it's really important that the players realise that it's there, and they realise that it's not just about, calling it when you're in the throes of full-blown depression. It's when you're struggling, you're feeling a bit anxious, you're feeling a bit pressured about the fact you maybe don't have a club at the moment, you don't know what your future's going to hold.
It can be an uncertain time, and in Scottish football, there are more players every year without a club. Alistair Lamont, reporting Scotland.
Glasgow is not the only place that will be witnessing a host of sporting events this weekend. Around 1,000 athletes with learning difficulties have gathered in Stirling, and they've got their eyes on a medal too. Aileen Clark reports.
3, 2, 1, go!
Time trials underway on the track in Stirling. Athletes have travelled from across Britain to be here, but the Scots are keen to impress.
I've been doing cycling for 3 years.
And what do you think about your chances today then?
I find I've got a good chance.
How many laps will you be doing?
10.
Are you fast?
Yes.
Sean is part of the Scotland West team, training rain or shine every week.
First and foremost, it's about participation and being part of a team and being accepted for your ability, not being seen for your disability. But medals are good too.
Daisy is part of the Grampian team. How far are you going to be cycling today?
5k, 10 laps.
And are you feeling confident?
Not there.
Family support crucial to any athlete, and Daisy's mum has seen sport help her daughter flourish.
Her confidence has improved. She's got real spring about it, and she just so looks forward to coming to the training sessions and then events like this. It's done the world of good for her.
It was in the pool that Eve, who swims for the Highland team, produced medal-winning performances. Am I talking to somebody who's won 2 gold medals today?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Good.
Is it worth all the training?
Yeah.
And Dad, what do you feel about that?
We're thoroughly excited and thrilled with all these achievements. Yeah, she's worked really hard. The Highland Disability team happened in Inverness on a Saturday. A lot of training goes in for it, so we're really chuffed for Eve.
By the time she'd finished, Eve had picked up 3 gold medals.
Great game, guys. Played really, really well. Couldn't have asked for better, guys.
Outside, the bragging rights were being decided on the football pitches. The Dumfries and Galloway team had just won a match, but there were plenty still to come.
I was at the one in Sheffield last year, so hopefully, won the gold medal last year, so see what happens this year.
Oh, well, a bit of pressure on you then.
We'll see what happens. Just here to enjoy ourselves, though.
You doing well today?
Yeah.
How do you think the team's doing?
Great.
You going to be in for a medal?
Maybe.
Badminton is also featured in the Special Anniversary Games, marking 40 years of the Special Olympics in Britain. A host of volunteers on hand to help, enabling everyone to compete against someone of similar standard, whatever that standard is, and head home perhaps a little bit prouder. Aileen Clark, reporting Scotland, Stirling.
Scotland's Laura Muir has made a strong start to her quest for European Championship gold. The athlete won her 1,500-metre heat on a day that could see several Scots on the podium in Berlin. Caradine Idsan can tell us more.
Berlin's iconic sites include the Olympic Stadium, originally built for the 1936 Olympics. Back then, the legendary American sprinter and long jumper Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals here. Today, it was the turn of one of Scotland's top stars to get her quest for a medal of similar colour underway. Laura Muir dominated and controlled her semi-final of the 1,500 metres, coming through in first place to safely guarantee her spot in Sunday's final.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to stay out of trouble first half of the race, but then I was aware it was moving pretty quickly towards the end, just wanted to get out the front and out of trouble, yeah.
We'll see Laura Muir again then on Sunday in the final of the 1,500 metres. We won't see her training partner Gemma Reekie. She just missed out on qualification. Tonight, however, is a huge one for Scottish athletes in the British team. At 10 to 8, Ailey Doyle goes in the final of the 400 metres hurdles. At 20 past 8, it's Lindsay Sharp's turn in the final of the 800 metres before, towards the end of the evening, 2 Scots go in the final of the 1,500 metres, Chris O'Hare and Jake Whiteman. All of those names will think they have a strong chance of bringing home a medal from these European Championships. Caradine Idsan reporting Scotland at the Olympic Stadium in Berlin.
Let's go to Kirstine with the weather now. That looks like a lowering cloud behind you there.
It really does, Sally. We've had some very heavy and thundery downpours in the east this afternoon especially. Good evening to you. Yes, a very threatening sky here as captured by one of our weather watchers. All the while, though, in the west this afternoon, we've had high pressure toppling in, bringing some dry weather and plenty of sunshine. A beautiful picture here from one of our weather watchers in Harris. This evening, the showers will continue to fizzle and fade away. Some late sunshine on offer for most of us, and a dry night will follow, really, with clear spells. 1 or 2 showers affecting particularly the Northern Isles during the night. With high pressure dominating, light winds and clear skies, it'll be a fairly chilly night with temperatures dipping into single figures. So into tomorrow, and that high pressure continues to dominate. A dry day on the cards with plenty of brightness and sunshine, especially so in the morning. Cloud tending to filter across many parts during the course of the day, turning that sunshine somewhat hazy in nature. So tomorrow afternoon in more detail, I think perhaps just a rogue shower or two for the likes of Shetland and perhaps Caithness. Otherwise dry though, still some brightness and sunshine coming through at times. And temperature-wise, we'll be up a notch on today's values, peaking around 19 Celsius for the likes of the Glasgow area, with light wind, some bright or sunny spells that will feel quite pleasant during tomorrow afternoon. If you're thinking of hill walking and climbing tomorrow, well, a dry day really across the board, other than 1 or 2 rogue showers across the likes of the north-western ranges, and none too cold, around 8 to 11 Celsius, winds generally from the southeast, around 15 to 25 miles per hour. Into tomorrow evening, cloud will continue to thicken, and that will be followed by some outbreaks of rain into the southwest. During Saturday night, that rain will continue to trundle its way northwards. So for Sunday, we have low pressure dominating proceedings, throwing these weather fronts our way. So Sunday, really quite a cloudy day in prospect for us, with outbreaks of rain continuing to push northwards and some heavy showers following into the south. The driest weather on Sunday will be across the Northern Isles, a humid feel under the cloud and rain for central and southern areas. And then into the beginning of next week, low pressure never too far away, unsettled with some showers or some longer spells of rain. That's the forecast for now. Sally.
Thanks so much, Kirstine. Quick reminder of tonight's main news. House of Fraser has been bought by Sports Direct just hours after going into administration. The department store has been sold off for £90 million. And that's Reporting Scotland. I'll be back with the late bulletin just after the 10 o'clock news. Until then, from everyone on the team right across the country, have a good evening. Bye-bye.